Welcome to Yoga Teacher Journeys, your podcast for all things yoga and mindful living. I'm Claire.
And I'm Bianca, and we're two yoga teachers sharing the insights and wisdom we've picked up along our journey so far.
Whether you're thinking about teacher training or exploring yoga as a way of life, join us weekly for inspiring conversations.
Let's go on this journey together.
Hello and welcome back to another episode.
Welcome. Episode 19.
I was sitting here like, can you tell us what number?
Episode 19. And
Yeah.
it's really good to be back again this week. We're getting back into the flow of things. We hope you enjoyed the previous episode about the ashram and all that great experience that Bianca shared. But today we're here to talk about the gunas. So what are the gunas, Bea? Do you want to kick us off?
So I think the easiest way to look at the gunas is you can, I suppose, look at them as qualities, right? So qualities in life, and everything in life has a quality. So there's three of them, and these three different things have three different qualities. So there's sattvic, rajas, and tamas. So sattvic is like balance, clarity, stillness. That's how I see it. Rajas is when things are like in motion, or maybe there's like agitation there. It's more activated. Tamas is more dull and still, but in like a kind of lifeless way.
Not like lethargy,
not like a
laziness.
Yeah.
Okay.
What would you add to those kind of qualities?
I think, that's right. So when the sattvic side of things for me was also a balanced mind, like the knowledge, that awareness, that self-awareness as well. And I think that's the one that we try to channel as much as possible when we look at that yogic lifestyle. And then the other two, so with the rajas being more kind of passionate emotion, but more in the positive, as you said, there's a lot of energy going into there. Whether that is being passionate about something, or it could almost be looking at the ego a little bit. So there's a lot of energy, neither good or bad, but there's a lot of energy. And then the tamas being a lot more lethargic, but sometimes you do need it in life, right? To be able to observe in stillness and calmness in that sense. But there is that element of laziness, as we said, inertia, and then maybe a bit of darkness that comes into it as well. But as we said, we are all living beings. We are composed of those three things, and we can try and balance them in different ways. And I suppose as yogis, we try to come towards that sattvic way, and that can not only be in our actions, but as we've discussed this before, in terms of maybe the food that we eat. You may have heard about sattvic food and that type of food. So there is a lot there, but I think we are made of all three, and we try to balance that out. A bit like with a lot of things in yoga, we're always trying to come into that balance. So yeah. Do you want to talk a bit more about the food then? Because that is a huge thing. We are made of what we eat in a way.
Yeah, and I think often we don't realize how much what we eat impacts how we feel. And I know for me, I've done a lot of work on my relationship with food over the years, so much work, and I've been on this journey. And there's not one right way of eating, I don't think. You have to really get to know yourself. But what I think is important to know with the qualities and working with yoga is that you can change the way that you feel by changing what you eat, right? Because as much as we have these qualities within us, so does the food that we eat. Okay, so you've got to look at it in that way. Quite often, how we feel impacts our food choices. So if we're feeling really lethargic and all the time, just notice what you're eating. And it's probably quite, well, for me, I know that when I'm feeling heavy and tired, it's usually that I'm eating foods that are maybe a bit more heavy, greasy, a bit more processed, carby, which again, time and place, love them, right? But then if you're feeling quite low and you feel like you're kind of stuck there, the way that you can balance this out is by changing the things that you are eating. Once you can see that it's in this cycle, it's like, right, okay, how do I want to feel? What foods can help me to bring those qualities back within myself? We have all three of these qualities within us, and these three things are changing all of the time. And I think nothing's fixed. I think we need to remember this. Nothing is fixed. It is always in this kind of fluctuation. it's not, well, I mean, is it possible to be sattvic all the time? I think, again, time and a place. And if we're looking at rajas, say, as one of my yoga teachers, he said to me, soldiers, they can't be sattvic necessarily. They need to eat things that kind of get them energized because they need that energy for what they do for work. So it really depends on the life that you want to live as to kind of what qualities you want to bring through. But we just want to, yeah, bring awareness to it and just get the conversation going, because we are made ultimately of what we eat. Our body is made of what we eat. So when we really think about that, it's kind of like we are in control of that. If we see yoga really is like a science, and our bodies, if we say our bodies are like the laboratories and we're the scientists almost. So we want to make sure that we're keeping it all clean so that so it can work properly. And when things are working properly, we can move with ease, we can breathe with ease, we can be present, we can connect, and we're in this flow state, this balanced place. And yeah, there's so many things. Food can really, really impact how we feel. And I think just bringing awareness to that is interesting. Maybe even just noticing what type of things are you eating, and does your mood affect how you eat and what choices you make? What have you noticed with yourself with that?
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think for me, I've noticed when I'm having a lot of whole grains, different nuts and seeds, there's a variety of vegetables in my diet. I just feel from the inside out that body mind connection so healthy and so energized. And it is really hard in the society that we live in. And we will always, I think, be exposed to different types of foods. And as you say, being sattvic all the time might be really challenging, even on the kind of simplicity of you're going over to your friend's house for dinner. Your friend might cook certain things, and that's fine. And you can also have those foods as a time and a place. But I do genuinely feel the difference in energy levels and then also in the mind when I'm eating a certain type of food. And you just feel so different, and you have that mental clarity as well. But then of course there are periods in life when you get a bit more stressed, and if you're not managing your stress, then you get into eating certain foods because you're trying to comfort eat, and those things might make you feel better in the moment. Maybe that, I don't know, tub of ice cream or whatever it is, but immediately later on you will feel more lethargic, you won't feel strong mentally, and you stay in that spiral. Now it is really challenging.
Easily done.
Yeah, it is really challenging to break the cycle. But I think, like with everything, it's taking small steps. It's slowly adding things in. I think, for example, if you are cooking different meals, adding different types of nuts and seeds into that, adding the side salad, and just starting to appreciate those foods more and more, and trying to step away, for example, from a lot of the ultra processed foods, because I think that definitely keeps us in that spiral. And then, of course, through yoga, moving the body will help you as well. And I think the more I practice yoga, the more I live a yogic lifestyle, the less I feel attracted towards meat and fish, for example.
It's funny, isn't it?
And it's interesting because I think, I love it. I love fish. I love meat as well. I love the taste of it. And of course, there are loads of other nutritional benefits. And I'm not an expert, we're not going to go into all of that. But practicing more yoga makes me feel like eating less of it.
And I guess that the reason for that is because you're more connected to your body. And when you're more connected to your body, you feel more the effects of the food. Like if we're just totally disconnected, you can eat whatever and you don't really notice it. Yoga helps us with yoga is that journey inwards, right? So as we turn more inwards, the more we connect with ourselves. I find the more you then start connecting with nature around you, and you actually want more of that kind of nurturing and grounding, those kind of qualities from the foods that you eat as well, because you're trying to nourish, right? So if you think about the actual physical practice, the asana practice of yoga is great, but if you're not doing the kind of nutrition side of it as well, I think we've mentioned this before, you're only going to get so far, right?
Absolutely.
Because what you eat probably is one of the things that makes the biggest difference. The biggest difference. So if you just practice yoga, but you're eating absolutely no whole foods at all, you're only going to get so far. It's going to really impact your asana practice. We're not demonizing foods. And I think I just want to side note that I've done a lot of work on my relationship with food, right? No food is good or bad. Some foods, they just have different qualities and nutritional values. If we kind of look at it like that, once you start to connect with yourself more, your body will tell you what it needs, right? So we're not saying don't eat this, do eat this. Like, that's not what this is about. This is just about getting curious and understanding how your body responds to different foods in terms of the qualities. And if you really want to change how you feel, you need to maybe look at what you eat, and you need to look at how you're moving and how you're thinking and all of those sorts of things.
Absolutely. And then if you think about back to the philosophy of the Gunas, and you want to try and live a more sattvic life, a more balanced, knowledgeable, light kind of life, in order to get there, you need to practice more of the self-discipline side of yoga, and then observing as well your emotions and thoughts. You can't be disciplined or observe things if you're lethargic all the time and you have
This is it.
like, you won't be able to. And so again, you've got to come back to the source, to the beginning of it. Also, imagine you've had a very heavy meal. How could you possibly meditate? You just fall asleep. So again, it all links back to it. But I think nowadays people don't have that body mind connection, and being very self-aware of how you feel is very difficult because we're on autopilot. We're on our phones on autopilot, and everything goes so fast that we don't have time to pause and think, how do I feel? What is my body actually asking me? What does my body need? And I know for a fact, even for example with sleep, depending on my cycle, I know, for example, I need to sleep more coming up to my period because my body needs it more, and I can feel it and try and listen to it as well. So yeah, it's that awareness is challenging.
I think at the end of the day, everything comes down to awareness. It's all about awareness, and everything, you are capable of changing all of these things. And like you said there, it's with dedication and with discipline, you can have a blissful life, but it's just like how far are you kind of willing to go? And it's, we're living this modern life, right? I've had a few experiences when I've been really, really disciplined and really, really extreme. And I felt amazing. Like, you can really, really feel the benefits of the practice, the benefits of eating a sattvic lifestyle. Try these things, and then how can I then like integrate this into my normal life? Because it's a journey, it's an understanding. The more you turn inwards, the more you're going to hear what your body is saying. So I think just using this as an opportunity to get curious and just to be aware of, like, you are what you eat, basically, is what we're trying to say. So nutrition is probably the thing that's going to make you feel the most different.
It is. And we know people don't have much time, and it is difficult, and we completely understand that. But I think it's exactly what you said. It's about getting curious and seeing what small changes you can make in your daily life to help you feel more energized. And it's breaking that cycle and getting into a more positive cycle. And if you do fall into another kind of more lethargic cycle, again, trying to observe, accept that, and then make small changes to move back into a more energized cycle or habits that you may have. Maybe noticing as well what things in your lifestyle, maybe people around you, influences, different things, who around you is making you perhaps make specific choices. And sometimes that can also be difficult, but it's the awareness.
It all comes back to awareness and focus and discipline, and and yoga is a practice. It is a discipline.
It's a practice, absolutely.
And it's all about, when you practice yoga, you are learning, and then you have to practice that off of the mat as well. So this is yoga that you can do off of the mat.
It is. And coming to that true self is a lot of work. And it's we're not trying to be perfect. It's just about returning to yourself and accepting all the things that are, but also finding that peacefulness. I think the sattvic life is also finding peacefulness in your life. And
because we all deserve to live a life like that, right? Being a human, there's a lot of suffering. So living in this way can just help us to flow a little bit more freely through that suffering. Life does its thing, life lives. And then you're choosing to eat foods like that are kind of keeping you stuck. You're not nourishing your way through that, and you're probably going to end up sitting in that kind of suffering for longer. So this is just about how can you really support your body to help you to move these energies through the body and process and alchemize. And we're not trying to change anything necessarily, because all of these things are within us. We're trying to balance.
Yeah.
It's like you said there, it's not about being perfect. It's just about doing the best you can with the energy and the awareness that you have. And just knowing that you are the scientist, right? So you have to learn your body. This yoga is a science. You have to practice it to hear it, to understand it. It doesn't need to be right straight away. You just need to do something and then acknowledge, okay, how did that feel? And you can keep trying and practicing different things until you get to that place that feels right for you.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it any better.
There you
I
go.
think that's a good summary of the gunas. Do you have anything else that you
I mean,
want?
we could go deep into this, but I think that's a nice overview. If anyone has any questions or anything, always happy to answer those. I think another thing, maybe just to finish, is if we are in a yoga class and teacher at the front of the class, your students come in, I can tell where people are at. Okay, so if someone's sattvic, they're kind of sitting there, they're fully in it. You've got people that are the Rajas people, they're kind of fidgeting, they can't keep their eyes shut, they're like, all over the place. And the
Looking
tamas,
at
they're
the
kind of
watches.
looking at the watches, like, all like this. And then people with that more kind of tamas quality, I guess they're a bit like, you can just tell that they're a bit like this. So and I think that's really interesting, and there's no right or wrong. One day you might be more of this, one day you might be more of that, but what's amazing is when you can acknowledge these different qualities in yourself, you can do what you need to do to support yourself through it. You can stay in either of those states if you want, like any of those states, but I guess if you stay in rajas and tamas for too long, it's not going to be beneficial.
Absolutely. And I've noticed that too. And sometimes those people who are in tamas, you almost feel like they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And you're like, are you okay? Do you want to be here? Do you want to go to bed?
Yeah. What do you need?
But they are in the right place, right? Because
Yeah,
usually after they've been through the physical asana practice, some energies may have
it
shifted
shifts.
already. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I love talking about this stuff. So
Yeah, me
bring it
too.
on. More to come.
More to come. We'll get into some more philosophy topics shortly. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.